Bienvenidos a Charlas en Amauta. Esta semana les traemos algo diferente. Les traemos una conversación que entablaron Eric French y el intelectual norteamericano Noam Chomsky. Esta sería la segunda vez que Amauta charla con el profesor Chomsky. Entre los temas discutidos en esta charla se plantea la real posibilidad de establecer un sistema democrático en los medios de comunicación, la distribución de poder y la inevitable división jerárquica que existe dentro de los mismos. También hay varios otros temas en los cuales la charla toma rumbo. Esperemos que sea de su agrado. La charla entera está en inglés por razones fuera de nuestro alcance, pero igual esperamos que se entretengan.
So, in the magazine we're trying to apply the participatory society principles, and I have looked at different models of
the way the magazine is run.
Yeah, the way the magazine is run, but not only the way it's run, but the way it's produced as well, which is the other. So we're trying to make it completely horizontal and democratic, whatever.
All the way through to the production.
The production, the editorial decisions, the writing, the production, the distribution, all the parts of media. Right? So it's harder. It's much harder than
strength, sorry.
Don't worry.
Watch out, it's pretty full.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It's the idea is good. Like in theory, it sounds excellent, right? Like we should want. Yeah, right.
Sounds good, but I'm
tell me you're
totally convinced, frankly,
that it can happen, or that
it's even a good thing. I mean, the point is, people have different interests, different abilities. And might as well. It undercuts freedom of choice, and I think it also undercuts efficiency. I mean, there's a point. You don't want to have hierarchy, but there ought to be ways of making a distribution of work non-hierarchical. Like everyone can take part in decisions equally, and there's no more pay or respect or whatever for one thing or other. But some people are good at some things and aren't at others.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be a lousy carpenter.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I think you made the same point in the last CMI.
Did I?
With maybe, I don't know, I don't remember, but I think you did had a critique on Paracon coming from the same place. But I guess, I understand, and that's why the freedom of choice, at least in our idea, is that people who want to participate. This is not an obligatory participation, right? This whoever wants to participate will participate. I guess we will have to give them a diversity of tasks.
Well, in an operation like yours, there's going to be a wide diversity of tasks.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, but I cannot just write. I should also be doing something.
I'm sure you're using desktop publishing, I presume. So there are going to be some people
like
who know
WordPress
how to fix a computer, fix the software.
And I don't know how to.
I can't, never learn.
Yeah. So exactly. So there are going to be different types of participation, and I guess let me see if. So I'm here. Everyone can participate. I guess we're also trying to make an emphasis on positive participation, because anyone can participate. But if someone participates just to talk, just to write something racist, then that's not.
It's for the community to decide.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the community to decide. So since it's for the community to decide, there would be mechanisms where the community would vote on if this article is appropriate or not, and give them this article a space. Do you know?
And then they have to work out the principles, which aren't so simple. I mean, should you bar racist material?
Mm-hmm.
It's not obvious.
Is it? Yeah, exactly. Like, do you want to repress something that it's out there, or
it's there? You're not going to eliminate racism by not giving people an opportunity to express their views and to have interaction and response and so on. And once you start that path, it's a kind of slippery slope.
Yeah.
What do you prevent? I mean, Mike had a very good a piece yesterday in Z, I don't know if you saw it.
Libya.
Yeah, on Libya. But, you know, of the people he's talking about, half of them want to repress the others.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no,
They're passionate about it. You know.
Yeah. But I guess that like the commentary is there.
I didn't read the comments yet, but I bet they're pretty acid.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of both. But that, so I guess to avoid that, it's not that. And I have thought about this too, because who am I to decide what speech should be free or not, right?
Yeah.
But I guess to decide, I would give the community that ability, like by voting somehow. It's a lot of.
But I think the community has to work through the hard question, of whether the principle of freedom of speech overrides even almost unanimous judgment onto what's appropriate.
And so yeah, I understand that, but so it wouldn't suppress the article entirely. So the idea in the magazine would be to things that people think are better quality, because you want to ensure information quality and credibility somehow, right?
Well, you know, that's what opinion pages are about. In theory, an opinion page should be free from editorial control.
Yeah.
Of course they're not.
Yeah. But that way, so it's not that we're suppressing the article, it's just that the article wouldn't get
prime
exposure.
Well, that makes sense. And there, again, that's a decision the editors or maybe the whole community would have to make.
And it would be like a community of editors in a way.
I mean, there's a community of editors, but then they're presumably responsible to the community. So on controversial issues, there might be a broader group brought in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most things you could delegate responsibility. You don't have to be wasting time with everything. That's the point of delegation of responsibility. But it should be done with the opportunity to overrule those to whom responsibility is delegated. Like the community may disagree with them, or may want to withdraw them and delegate the responsibility to someone else.
And now I have a question. So in a way, so that in this system that we're thinking, we will give more power to those who have more positive participation, like because they are the ones who are putting more time and effort and all these principles. So how do you not create a hierarchy?
That's a difficult thing, and everyone who's been involved in movement activism knows how it works. You try to have a sort of Quaker-style consensus. Everybody's got to agree. But when you have, meetings and discussions, there are some people who are intensely interested and committed, and they want to take it over, and they have a higher capacity for boredom, so they'll stick around and ends up being in control of some sect.
Can you think of examples of ways you can avoid things like that, or it's so hard, depends on the group?
Well, just, that's why I think pure consensus, total consensus is never going to work. It gives an opportunity for a clique who may have their own objectives, like their objective may be to destroy the organization. It gives them a veto power. And if they can stick it out long enough, it even tends to give them authority. And that's why the Lenins show up. They stick it out.
So that is also another concern. How do you avoid being ruled by the minority, in a sense, through this?
I think there's no algorithm for that. I mean, I've been in organizations where this comes up, and you just have to find ways of dealing with it. There's no magic trick.
No.
That I know.
It's just depends on the organization.
Depends on the organization, on the people. There may come a point where you just have to agree that majority vote is not a rule. Because when we go on to the next thing.
Our other concern is about how we're trying to analyze how information can still be fact-driven. If you can apply the scientific method to information, but information is so subjective at the same time.
Even in the hard sciences, there's a lot of subjective judgment.
Yeah.
And as soon as you move out to things where less is understood, there's no scientific criteria.
So you can only approach.
Well, I take what Mike was discussing yesterday. There are just arguments on both sides, and there's no science that tells you how to resolve them. You have to think them through and try to come to some resolution.
So the different factors to get like more evidence would make
more evidence, more discussion. Working through the arguments, thinking through consequences.
Having
sometimes you can clarify. Sometimes you come to a dead end. You just can't solve it. So then you have just a difference of opinion. You have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Having also, I guess, a diversity of voices that are involved in the issue.
Voices, interchange, rational interchange, if you can do it. Exploring arguments, seeing what until you either do or do not reach agreement. But there's no guarantee that you will, even in physics. And it's I mean, people like, say, Einstein, who's not insignificant, did not agree with the mainstream of modern physics. And that until the end of his life, he was trying to disprove it.
In what way? Well,
he didn't believe that in the paradoxes of quantum theory. I mean, things like what's called entanglement. He didn't believe it was possible to have a situation in which two particles, which are arbitrarily distant from one another, so distant that they can't communicate, because communication would be beyond the speed of light, but nevertheless to do exactly the same thing at all times. That's one of the quantum theoretic paradoxes called entanglement. He just didn't think it made any sense. Even when experiments came along that showed that it works. So he worked all his life trying to find some hidden variable, something that's missing that would account for it.
Was he?
All scientists have given it up.
Was he incorrect, or?
Well, the consensus of quantum scientists is that it's wrong.
That he was wrong.
Yeah, but it's a disagreement. He's obviously not an insignificant scientist. I'd take Newton for that matter. Newton regarded his own discoveries as what he's called an absurdity. So it can't be. He worked the rest of his life to try to show that you couldn't have action at a distance. By now it's accepted, but he certainly didn't accept it. He regarded it as, he called it an absurdity that no person with any scientific understanding could possibly accept.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also not an insignificant scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes these people turn out to be right.
If
and that's the core of the hard sciences. And when you get to should you bomb Libya, no criteria.
Yeah. But those are indecision. Like, I guess what I'm trying to wonder is and for me, I graduated in journalism, and journalists believe they think they're robots and they're objective, and I don't know why.
Where did you go to journalism school?
Newhouse in Syracuse University.
Syracuse.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it worked there, but the journalism schools in the United States